Hello, Patriots. I'm Lee Watts, and this is Patriot Point, your source for Kentucky news and analysis from a conservative, Christian, and common sense point of view. Well, this week we'll be talking about Kentucky income tax rates. For years, Kentuckians have been promised that they are going to be getting a discount in their tax rates. However, it turns out you are not going to be getting a discount in your income tax rates.
What?
So that's what we're going to be examining this week. Who made this promise to Kentuckians? Why is this promise not being kept? And who is responsible for all of this? And we'll give you all of these answers in this week's Patriot Point. But before we get into the news, I've got a personal matter I want to go over with you. My wife's out of town for a few days, so I've decided to grow a beard, and I can't decide whether I think she'll like it or not. So I want to give your opinion here, all right? What do you think? Should I keep it or should I shave it off? Put your comments in the comment section below, and you'll see next time whether I got a fuzzy face or whether I shaved it off. Well, let's get to this week's news, which is Kentucky income tax rates. We've been promised a discount. Why are we not getting it? Here's the reason why. For years, Kentucky had a 6% personal income tax rate. However, when the Republicans took control of the state legislature, they said they want to get rid of it entirely and move it all the way down to 0%. There are some other states that have no personal income tax at all, and that has worked out exceedingly well for those states. It's really attracted a lot of people to move there, built up a lot of industry. And so the Republicans said, all right, we're in charge now. We want to move your tax rate down to 0. Now, they first did this a few years ago, back in 2022. It was called House Bill 1. And they said, we're not going to drop it from what it is now to 0 in one day, because some other states did that, and it did not work out well for them. It was too big of a shock to the system. So they said, we're going to do this incrementally. Every year we want to lower it by a half a point, maybe a full point, when we can move all the way to 0. Well, when they first did this, Andy Beshear vetoed the bill. He's like, no, we need to have more government spending. I need more money. And so he didn't want to give the discount, so he vetoed this bill. Well, they overrode him because they can override the vetoes. However, the next year, Republican legislature passed another bill to lower the income tax rate for the state level, another 0.5% lower. Well, this time, Andy Beshear signed that bill. So here's a question to think about it. Why would he, in 1 year, he'd veto this bill saying, oh, no, we need to have the money. We got to take the people's money for government spending. And then the next year, when it turns out that was very popular and that worked very well, he went ahead and signed it saying, oh, what a good idea this is, trying to take credit for it. Now, here's the thing. If you are voting on something or vetoing something on principle, principle doesn't change. And yet his is changing back and forth depending on what is popular at the time. And this is the key difference between a politician and a statesman. A politician moves on whatever is popular, whatever their party wants. A statesman will always move all of their actions according to principle. Principle is consistent in its actions. Principle before popularity, principle even before party, principle always. Well, Andy Beshear has just been going with whatever seems popular at the time. He'll veto it, he'll sign it, but the state legislature is not even going to pass a bill next year to lower this anymore for Beshear to sign or veto. And here is the reason why. It's because the state legislature is prevented legally from lowering the state income tax next year because of restrictions they put on themselves. When they first started lowering this, they said in order to lower it the next year and keep this up, 2 requirements have to be met. Number 1, the state has to have a certain savings account. They call it basically a rainy day fund, where they want at least 10% of their usual annual revenue income set aside just in case there's an emergency. This is a very good idea. Personally, I wish it was a little more than 10%, but it's a sound idea to have a rainy day fund, and they have met that requirement. However, there's a second requirement. The second requirement says that the state revenue, tax revenue for 1 year must be greater than the spending and appropriations for the next year if taxes were reduced by 1% or more. So there's a lot of math behind that, but at the end of the day, it comes down to they didn't meet that requirement, and they wound up falling about $435 million short. So because that the two requirements were not met, your tax break this next year is not going to be continuing as was the intention. So if they say, well, if they have to have spending and appropriations has to be, equal to or less than what you're going to be giving a discount for, the answer, in my opinion, would be, well, just cut spending. What a crazy idea would that be? One of the people at the Capitol is a senator by the name of Senator Chris McDaniels. And he was talking about this recently. He is the chairman for the Senate's Appropriation and Revenue Committee. He said, I don't see us cutting any place. So he's like, we're not going to be cutting spending on really anything we're spending right now. However, what he did mention is that they were going to be doing what's called spending restraints. So what this is, say we're not going to increase spending for any of the programs, and we're not going to be taking on new programs that would require spending. So that's the way they intend to get back to being able to give the people this income tax break. So Governor Beshear, in a press conference just last Thursday, he went on to come out and say Kentuckians don't have to worry about why the physical requirement wasn't met. Yes, we do worry about this. Hey, how come this requirement's not been met? Let me tell you exactly the reason why Andy Beshear says, hey, don't worry about this. Don't even think about it. It's because Biden and Beshear's policies have led to massive inflation. And when massive inflation happens, the people quit spending their money as much. And because they're not spending their money, there's not tax revenue on that money, which is why the legislature wasn't able to meet the requirement. It all goes down to the Republicans want to cut your taxes, but the Democrats right now have the top seat in government, and they're making inflation go through the roof, which is messing everything up. So that's the reason why I hope you are registered to vote, because we got an election coming up here in a little less than 60 days. So get out there and let's vote these Democratic policies out of office. So I'm Lee Watts, and I approve this message. So that's what we've got going on right now. Now, Beshear's opponent to become the next governor is Mr. Daniel Cameron. His position on this, he has come out very clearly on this and says he wants to get back to reducing Kentucky's personal state-level income tax down to 0% as quickly as can possibly be done. So these are our two different positions on this. I hope that you will say what your position on this is with your vote this November. Now, with all of that being said this week, I have been doing Patriot Point now every single week, sometimes multiple times a week, for 4 years now without a break. So September is my birthday, also my wedding anniversary. So I'm going to be taking 2 weeks off. In addition to this, my wife is having some serious health problems, and it looks like I may be having to take a major trip to go take care of her for a little while. But we will be back in 2 weeks to bring you Kentucky news from a Christian conservative standpoint. If Andy Beshear, Biden, or the liberals try to pull anything, I trust all you patriots will stand up and stop them till I get back on the air in 2 weeks. But this Sunday, I'm going to be somewhere before I go off the air, and that is going to be at the Grace Baptist Church in Bowling Green, Kentucky. I'll be teaching their Sunday school class. I hope you'll be able to come. I'm going to be teaching a lesson on the biblical principles behind the Declaration of Independence. I think you'll find that to be a fascinating lesson that every patriot should know. Then I'll be preaching the morning and the evening service. And I hope if you don't have a church home, you'll be able to join us at Grace Baptist Church in Bowling Green this coming Sunday. So that's what we have for you this week. So until 2 weeks from this week, I'm Lee Watts for Patriot Point, reminding you that liberty is not a spectator sport.